Dus bhfuilm lá idirnáisiúnta na máin ar bheith sástaircí gabán an éireann agus fud an domhan. So I just want to wish all women here in the Shannon and in the Dáil and all our female staff in the Oireachtas and women all over the country a very happy International Women's Day. And I know some of the previous speakers have highlighted many positives that have happened and many, forward-moving issues that have occurred in their speeches. But I suppose today I want to highlight and talk about the continuing high incidence of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, because unfortunately, while there might be increased awareness around the issue, not enough is happening around changing the behaviours of people, particularly men. I know men and women can be subjected to domestic violence, but the majority are women. And the statistics on this are quite stark. I mean, we know 35% of women in Ireland, which is more than 1 in 3, have experienced psychological, physical and/or sexual abuse from an intimate partner. We know since 1996, up to last November, 277 women had died in Ireland violently. In the north, since 2020, 28 women had died. And the majority of those in both cases were killed by former or current partners, many of them in their own home and certainly by people they knew. I think only one of the 28 women in the north was killed by a woman. All the rest were killed by men, or men are being charged in connection with their deaths. And a sobering thought is that every day 140 women and girls are killed by an intimate partner or other members of the family worldwide. So I come from one of the counties which still does not have a refuge place, which is Cavan. So there's no refuge for victims of domestic violence in Cavan or Monaghan. Now, there is progress being made, and I'm glad to say that. I was a little bit concerned by an announcement made by the Justice Minister, Jim O'Callaghan, a number of months back when he talked about a refuge for Cavan Monaghan based in Monaghan. We really want to see a refuge in each county. So while a site has been identified in Monaghan and progress has been made on a purpose-built unit for there, which will still take a couple of years, both county councils are working very hard to identify a place in each county. And I would like an assurance that funding will be available through Cuan to provide a refuge in Cavan as well. So, living in a border county, I'm very aware of an all-island approach that should be taken to this issue. Very frequently, women in Cavan who have been abused by a partner and have reported this, and the perpetrator is wanted by the guards, they will make a very quick exit out of the state across the border. And suddenly, they can't be touched by the guards, but yet they're near enough to come back and cause fear for that woman to come back and cause her harm if they so choose. So I want to see greater cooperation and collaboration between the police forces, the PSNI and Garda Síochána on these issues, but also on the provision of services and support for women as well. Like there's a refuge space in Fermanagh. If there are places in that refuge and there's women in Cavan or Monaghan that need it, why shouldn't they get help in Fermanagh and vice versa? I think we need to work together, and I know there's good collaboration between Women's Aid here and the Women's Aid Federation in NI, but we need to see them working more collaboratively across the board in providing the support that women need. And also, I suppose I could go on about the courts. The court system needs to be reviewed very much so in relation to how they deal with women and people who are subjected to domestic violence. Recently, I had the honour of co-hosting with my colleague, Deputy Rose Conway-Walsh, a very strong and resilient lady who went through not just the abuse from her ex-husband, but the abuse of a system as well to try and get justice, and that was Margaret Loftus. And Margaret Loftus was a former member of Garda Síochána, and so was her former husband. And she encountered misogyny and corruption within the force to try and block her getting justice. Now, thankfully, the current Garda Commissioner, Justin Kelly, really stood up and made sure that she got justice, and that's really welcome. But we do need to call out the misogyny in Gardaí and the Defence Forces where it happens. Thank you.